Close your eyes and take a deep breath, feeling your body settle into this moment of possibility. As you continue to breathe naturally, you might wonder how quickly your pitching can transform from where it is now to where you want it to be. And that's perfectly fine. You know, there's something fascinating about how a river flows. When a river encounters a rock or obstacle, it doesn't stop or get frustrated. It simply flows around it, finding a new path, continuing its journey with the same power and purpose. Your pitching is like that river, isn't it? When you walk a batter, you don't have to let that obstacle stop your flow. You can simply flow around it, reset, and continue with even more focus and precision. I'm curious about which part of you already knows that every elite pitcher has walked batters before. Have you realized yet how those moments of challenge are actually opportunities to demonstrate your mental toughness? The question isn't whether you'll face difficult situations on the mound, but how quickly you'll bounce back and show everyone your true strength. Speaking to yourself, acknowledge that feeling when you walk someone, and you don't have to let it define your next pitch. Even though you might feel frustrated after a walk, you already possess the ability to flush it away completely. Some people discover that their most dominant performances came right after their most challenging moments. You might find that interesting, and that's perfectly fine. Let me tell you about Sarah, a pitcher who used to let walks completely derail her games. She would walk one batter and then her mind would spiral, thinking about the runners on base, the pressure, what her coach was thinking. For innings, she'd struggle to find the zone again. Does that sound familiar? Well, Sarah learned to develop what she called her reset ritual. Between every pitch, she would touch her glove, take a deep breath, and remind herself that this pitch was the only one that mattered. The sooner she began treating each pitch as a fresh start, the sooner she realized that mental toughness was just as important as physical ability. Because your mind has the power to reset instantly, you can flush away any negative experience and return to your dominant state. When you recognize this truth, you begin to see that walking a batter is nothing more than information that helps you adjust for the next pitch. What would happen if you approached each new batter not as someone who might continue your struggles, but as someone who's about to witness your excellence? You may not be aware of how powerfully your subconscious mind can sharpen your reflexes, but your unconscious mind already knows how to make your body move with lightning speed. As you continue to listen to these words, notice how your confidence in your quick reactions naturally begins to expand. There was once a master archer who could split arrows with her precision. When asked about her secret, she said, "I don't think about the target. I become one with the arrow's path." One day, a young archer challenged her, saying, "But what if you miss? What if your arrow goes wide?" The master smiled and replied, "Each arrow teaches me something new. A miss is just information that makes the next arrow more accurate. Your pitches are like those arrows, each one providing feedback that makes the next one more precise." I'm getting the impression that you're the kind of pitcher who genuinely wants to dominate on the mound. People who have that inner fire tend to develop the mental skills that separate good pitchers from great ones. Isn't it interesting how the very intensity that sometimes works against you after a walk can be channeled into laser focus and intimidating presence? You might be wondering how to transform that intensity into consistent strikes, and here's what I want you to consider. A master clockmaker doesn't just wind a clock and hope it keeps time. They calibrate each mechanism, fine-tune each component, and create a system that runs with perfect precision. Your pitching mechanics need the same kind of consistent attention. You can increase your velocity and accuracy because you're willing to trust your training and let your body do what it knows how to do. I wonder if you can imagine yourself 3 months from now, standing on the mound with complete confidence, knowing that batters are intimidated before they even step into the box. That makes sense, doesn't it? Here's an interesting thing about elite pitchers. They don't just throw strikes, they own the mound. They understand that the 16 inches between the pitcher's plate and home plate is their domain. They know that every batter who steps in is entering their territory. They carry themselves with a quiet confidence that says, "You're in my house now." Before you dismiss this as just mental tricks, consider how every great athlete uses their mind as much as their body. After you recognize this truth, you'll notice how naturally you begin to feel that sense of ownership and control every time you step on the mound. Let me ask you this: what's it like when you throw your best pitch? What does it feel like when everything clicks perfectly? What happens in your body when you release that perfect strike? Your unconscious mind already knows these sensations, and as you access them, you begin to understand exactly how to recreate them consistently. You're probably noticing how your energy shifts when you focus on your strengths rather than your mistakes, aren't you? I suggest you carry this feeling with you every time you step on the mound, if that's okay with you. There's a story about a young eagle who was afraid to dive for fish because she worried about missing. She would circle high above the water, hesitating, overthinking every movement. One day, an older eagle told her, "The fish don't fear your dive, they fear your precision. Stop thinking about missing and start thinking about hitting your target." The young eagle realized that her speed and accuracy were gifts to be unleashed, not fears to be managed. By the way, throwing harder isn't about forcing your arm to work harder. It's about creating efficient mechanics that allow your natural power to flow through your entire body. You could, if you wanted to, start thinking of velocity not as something you create, but as something you allow to happen when everything is in perfect alignment. I know you're wondering how to actually make this happen, and here's what elite pitchers do. They develop what coaches call controlled aggression. They attack the strike zone with confidence while maintaining perfect control. They understand that intimidation comes not from wild throws, but from the batter's knowledge that you can put the ball exactly where you want it, when you want it there. Something tells me you're beginning to understand that your presence on the mound is just as important as your pitching ability. And once you experience that feeling of complete control, you'll find that batters start to doubt themselves before they even swing. Have you ever noticed how some pitchers seem to make difficult pitches look effortless? Well, your muscle memory is already developing that same smoothness. You might find that after you trust your training completely, you naturally begin to see yourself as someone who makes pitching look easy. That reminds me of the story of a pianist who struggled with a particularly difficult piece. She would practice the same passage over and over, getting frustrated when her fingers couldn't keep up with her mind. Her teacher told her, "Stop trying to play faster. Play with more precision, and speed will come naturally." The pianist realized that accuracy was the foundation of velocity, not the other way around. Your pitching motion represents thousands of hours of training, muscle memory, and refined technique. How does it feel knowing that your body already knows exactly how to throw strikes? People who understand athletic performance recognize that trusting your training is the key to unlocking your full potential. The sooner you begin to step on the mound with complete confidence, the sooner you'll notice batters becoming uncomfortable in the box. Because you've developed your skills through dedicated practice, you deserve to feel proud of your abilities. When you embrace this truth, you give yourself permission to be intimidating without being arrogant. I'm telling myself to remember that every dominant pitcher was once learning to control their walks, and every feared pitcher had to develop their mental toughness. You don't have to feel completely confident before you start dominating. You might discover that dominance comes from action, not the other way around. As you continue to breathe naturally, allow yourself to feel the certainty that your next great performance is not a matter of if, but when. You already know what you need to do on the mound. Trust that knowledge, trust your training, and trust that your opponents can sense your growing confidence. Let's shift gears for a moment and consider the practical aspects that will bridge the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. You can start by visualizing yourself walking back to the mound after any challenging moment with your head high, your shoulders back, and your focus completely on the next pitch. A person can begin pitching more effectively simply by treating each pitch as the most important pitch of the game. It's possible that you've been trying to think too far ahead when you'd be more successful focusing on this moment, this batter, this pitch. I can sense that you're ready to take your pitching to the next level, whatever that might look like for you. Perhaps you might start by developing your own reset ritual that instantly brings you back to your dominant state. You may find that having a consistent routine naturally builds confidence and intimidation factor, and that's perfectly fine. Speaking of routines, those who understand peak performance recognize that elite athletes succeed through consistent preparation and unshakable self-belief. Your physical training provides the foundation, but your mental preparation, your confidence, your ability to own the mound, these provide the edge that makes batters fear stepping into the box. On another note, I want you to remember that every strikeout you throw is building your reputation as a pitcher who can't be hit. Your unconscious mind already knows that consistency and fearless aggression are the keys to becoming a sought-after pitcher. Isn't it interesting how the very fact that you care enough about your pitching to want to improve puts you ahead of pitchers who are satisfied with mediocrity? You've already shown the dedication that separates good from great. Now you're simply learning to unleash that greatness consistently. Before you open your eyes and return to full awareness, take a moment to anchor this feeling of confidence and control. You might wonder how quickly this new mindset will begin to influence your performance, and you may not be aware of all the ways your subconscious mind is already working to make you a more dominant pitcher. The question isn't whether you have what it takes to be an elite pitcher. You've already proven that through your dedication and training. The question is simply how you'll choose to express your dominance on the mound. As you slowly return to full awareness, carry with you the certainty that your success, your speed, your accuracy, and your intimidating presence are not just possible, but inevitable. You already know that the mound is your domain, that each pitch is a chance to show your excellence, and that your confidence grows stronger with every game. Trust in your ability to flush away any mistake instantly, to throw harder and more accurately than ever before, and to become the pitcher that other teams fear to face. Your time of complete dominance is now.